Hey everybody, it's me, Albatross. Uh, Something's come to my attention that I didn't realize was happening. It was almost as if, after I talked about, made that statement the other day. I don't know when all this drama transpired, if it transpired before I made that statement or right, I don't know. But yeah, it it kind of proved my point a little bit though, didn't it? You know, that no matter what this poor girl does, someone's going to use it to distract from the kids. Always. And I'm not going to, without going into it too much, I will say that the people that I've noticed in the comments just throwing a name out, the same name over and over, you know who you are, um, that is not who she was talking about, first of all. Definitely wasn't who she was talking about. And if that person took it personally, maybe that person, I don't know, should ask themselves why they took it personally, because she wasn't even talking about them. But, and it also kind of goes to show you, one of the things that really resonated with me when I first started listening to Allie, and it's weird because a lot of other YouTubers found it really sus. I don't know why they did. Well, I know why they found it sus, but it resonated with me. One of the main things is that the fact that it disgusted her so much to see people monetize things like this. Like, that resonated with me. Like, that's what actually made me dig into it further and research it was that. Because when you put money in situations like this, when we're talking about survivors of things this horrible, like, I'm not, it's disgusting. I don't, like, whoever finds it sus, maybe you should ask yourself why you find that sus, because this isn't entertainment. We're not here for entertainment. We're not here for clout. We're not here for money. We're here for the kids, okay? At least I am. Anyone else who's not here for the kids, can, click the unlike button on your way out if you want. Feel free. But with all that being said, maybe some people can start to see why Allie's so frustrated. I don't know. I can definitely see why. It's really frustrating, like, when enemies, know how to make certain people react and take everything personally, how they start, throwing words and comments in everyone's comment section. Same name. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. And they knew that this would happen. And that once again, everyone else would stop asking about the kids and start focusing on this drama. Which is why I don't really want to spend any more time on it. But, there's that. So with all that said, from now on, I'm going to approach everything a little differently. From now on, people doing things like that, insinuating names when no names have been mentioned, when that happens, I'm going to assume you're the enemy. I'm going to assume you're part of the problem and you're working right with all the other nastiness that's behind all of this. And I'm going to report you and I'm going to block you. Because we're not going to have this. We're not going to have this. We're here to focus on one thing, and one thing only, is to get these kids out of this situation and to stop the people from putting them in these situations, to stop the people from mind-numbing everybody into complying with it. It's really starting to piss me off. With all that said, positive vibes from here on out. We're gonna, well, as positive as they can be under the circumstances, that is. We're gonna focus on the kids and the nasty powers at B that are enslaving them and exploiting them and have been doing so for a very long time. For a very, very long time. In fact, there's a little story I want to share with you guys. You know, when I was in college, one of my favorite classes was philosophy. I love philosophy, especially the philosopher Socrates. He's very interesting, and I'll tell you why. Because I was rereading some of his works, and it almost sounds to me like he's exposing a form of MK Ultra way back in 300 whatever BC. And it just clicked in my head. It's like this kind of thing has been going on forever. Like forever, for thousands of years this has been going on. And I'm about to explain a little bit, you know, for those of you who don't really care for philosophy or whatever, that's fine. You don't have to listen, but this is very relevant to everything that's going on right now, and I just find it very interesting that it's like this has always been going on. But anyway, Socrates, one of my favorite philosophers, came up with the Socratic method, and this happened when he had, like, you know, a moment of clarity, a moment of enlightenment, like a lot of these philosophers do. And he decides to go out and ask a bunch of wise people, you know, I can't really remember what he was asking. Oh, their beliefs and why they believe what they believe and stuff. And all of them, like all the quote wise men of his day that he approached, who he thought were wise, once he talked to them, he was like, well, I realize that they're not wise because they think they know everything. So they clearly, you know, don't know anything, even though they think they do. So he came up with this method where he would really, like, you know, dissect, like, people in that day, why they believed what they believed. And he had people question things like, you know, why do we believe this? You know, you make a lot of good points, Socrates. You know, a lot of this stuff, when you put it this way, doesn't really make sense. And this obviously started to piss off the people in charge at the time, because they started having, like, you know, unruly youngsters question, you know, their reality, basically. And just like a little brief description of who he is, like, he taught Plato, and Plato's the one who actually wrote all this stuff down for us to read today. We can thank Plato for that, because Socrates didn't write anything down. He didn't write anything down. You know, he didn't charge for his teachings. He really cared about the people, and, like, he, like, referred to himself as a gadfly, that he was constantly annoying people, pushing them out of their comfort zone, making them question their reality, why they believe what they believe, why things have been the way they've been, you know? Just, like, really man ahead of his time. But how does this tie into MK Ultra? Well, in one of his works, he goes into this allegory of the cave. And it's one of my favorite works. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, The Apology. They put I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Go back a minute. Socrates was put to death for all of this. His charges were corrupting the youth and, like, atheism or something like that. You know, for making a bunch of people question, you know, why they believe what they believe. God forbid we have anybody do any soul searching. You know what I mean? Can't have that. Can't have that. But, yeah, so they put him to death, and he took it willingly. Like, he didn't, like, fight it at all. And even though his students and his pupils told him, no, you can fight this. This is wrong. Like, all this is bullshit. And he was like, no, I'm going to take it. And you know what? I'm going to give him a little words of wisdom before I do. So, and that's why The Apology comes in. But in a work before he was put to death, called The Republic, a short story called Allegory of the Cave is in it. And here's, like, a little picture description of it. Basically, Socrates says that all of you snickering and laughing at me, Like, all of society, we're like in a cave. Like, these gentlemen here, chained up against the wall there, that's us. That's society, right? Okay? The powers that be, the elites, MK Ultra, the government, the big three would be these guys here. Okay? And what's happening is, since from the time we were born, we were in this cave. And, we see shadows on the wall from the fire, and, their little instruments that they've got here, and these things, if that is all we have ever, this is Socrates' point, if this is all you've ever seen since the time you were born, you would have no way of knowing if it was real or not. So let's just say that one of these fellas, this fella here, somehow breaks his chains, right? He breaks his chains and he walks out of the cave, right? He walks out of the cave, but it's so bright, like, and his eyes gotta kind of adjust at first, and he wouldn't notice, the things that were bright would look fake, and the things that were like dark would look real, because he spent his whole life in the cave, right? It would take time for his eyes to adjust. But eventually, his eyes would adjust, and he would see things for how they are. And then he would realize that the shadows did look fake, right? So then he goes back to the cave. He goes back to the cave to save his fellow men, to save his men. And since, they have not had the same awakening as our guy has, they're going to fight. They fight him. They laugh at him. They're like, get out of here. They refuse. They refuse to be set free from their chains. And then as he's standing in the cave, he notices all of a sudden that these shadows don't look so real anymore, because his eyes have already adjusted to the light, and there's no going back. But unfortunately, he can't force these men to leave if they refuse to leave. So he has to leave them behind. I don't know. It's just, tell me this isn't MK Ultra. Tell me this is in our government. The big three, whatever. I mean, I'm sorry, when someone owns the, like the TV, the media, the newspaper, the fucking textbooks that we read in school, in colleges, and in grade school. So, how do we know what was real or not real? This is why you really got to dissect. You know what I mean? This is why you got to dissect. And, I'll just leave it at that for tonight, because this whole situation earlier has made me exhausted. But yeah, this kind of thing has been going on for thousands of years, right? Stop letting them fool you. Don't take their word for it. Don't take my word for it. Don't take Allie's word for it. There is plenty out there. There's plenty out there. Go do your research. Dissect it. Please. I implore you. And your eyes will open. There's so much they're not telling us. All of the government, there's so fucking much they're not telling us. So, yeah, just go do your research. Don't stay locked in the cave. Okay? Come to the light. Anyways. I'm tired, guys. I'm tired. But I'll be back tomorrow to go through to do all that I promised. I won't bore you with philosophy anymore. I just had to show this to you guys, because it's just crazy to me. It's like, this has been going on for so long. And they put that man to death. Okay? They put him to death. So, remember that. Justice for Socrates. Justice for Allie Carter. Have a good night, everybody.